Hello, how's it going? Welcome to episode 1 of the Moihu podcast.
Hola a todos y bienvenidos. Fluent fast and fluent at last. You're listening to the Moihu podcast. For more language learning resources, including blogs, podcasts, and private online Spanish and English classes, go to moihu.com. Ahora empecemos.
Hello and welcome. This is the first episode, and this podcast is just a short introduction to tell you about me, how my language learning journey started, and a bit about the podcast and the website and how I can help you. So, if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably interested in learning Spanish or English or learning languages, or you've too much free time and you've stumbled upon this podcast for no apparent reason. But whatever your reason may be, you're very welcome to be here, and I hope you find it informative. So, my name's Matt. I'm a Spanish and English teacher from Belfast who is in love with the Spanish language, in love with language learning, and I just wanted to share a bit about my experience before we're going to talk about other topics in different podcasts. So, my experience with languages started like most other people. I chose Spanish and French in secondary school because I thought they would be very interesting and exotic, and they quickly became the most boring subjects for me, as all we did was muddle through complicated grammar, memorise essential vocabulary such as asking what time the castle opened at, and wrote stories to invisible pen pals that we would never meet. We never actually spoke in class, or at least not that I can remember. I never spoke to my partner or anything in Spanish. We didn't listen to any Spanish pop music. We didn't watch Spanish children's cartoons. Like, I didn't watch Dora la Exploradora in Castellano or anything like that. We just had a boring course book, and I suppose that the teachers did the best they could with the resources they had at the time. Just like trying to make the book interesting and stuff, but I just always left the class feeling far from inspired. I did French for 3 years and Spanish for 5. And when I left school, I didn't really hear anything else about languages. Like living in Ireland, the only things we say about other languages is that they're impossible to learn, or they're not necessary because everybody speaks English. And sometimes, such as when we're talking about our own language, Irish, say that it's useless or even dead. And of course, I thought it would be interesting to learn a new language. It'd be brilliant. I could learn Russian and Chinese and Spanish and French, but I didn't really have any intention of doing it, So when I was about 20, I went into this real Mother Teresa phase, like trying to save the world, and I decided to go and volunteer in Tanzania, in East Africa. So before I went, I was very excited. I got a wee culture book which had information about the country, the culture, and it had a wee section on language, Swahili. So I learned a few words, and I even found a wee song on YouTube to help beginners remember important phrases. What was it? Mambo bwana, habari gani, nzuri sana. No, I don't offer singing lessons, just Spanish and English. But the point was, I wasn't taking it too seriously. But when I showed up, I had a few wee words like hello, how are you, bye. And over the course of the 6 weeks, I picked up a few phrases. I got more comfortable using wee bits of the language for short, albeit awkward interactions. And I was lucky that in my project, we mixed a lot with local people. And one of their projects, there were maybe like 30 people, and they just spoke English all the time. There were 4 of us in our project living with local people. So, yes, we spoke English and stuff, but you heard a lot of the language. You asked them, how do you say this? And you learned wee jokes and things like that. And I feel like I was very lucky in that project because I felt like I had a very rich experience. It seemed very authentic. And when I finished with the school, so I spent like 5 weeks there, 5 or 6 weeks. I went to Zanzibar with some volunteers from the other project, you know, the ones they weren't mixing with local people, and they basically hadn't learned a word of Swahili. I think they'd learned Mambo, which is like hi. And one day we're on the beach in Zanzibar, and a couple of people from that project were trying to talk with some local kids on the beach, but the kids couldn't speak English, so I ended up acting as the translator. And it was such an amazing experience, you know, like translating between the two groups. Like it was nothing deep, do you know? It was stupid things like, what's your name? How old are you? What do you like to do? Just wee simple things like that. But it gave me such a buzz. And the year after, I went to Cambodia. I spent 3 months there, and I managed to learn to have short conversations, like haggle prices in the market, ask for directions, things like that. But when I say things like haggle prices, I don't mean like I would charm them with my fluent Khmer, the language they spoke there. Like, I mean, they would say 10 and I would say, no, 6 please. Like, you know, just clearing that up, because haggle sounded like I really controlled the language well there. Well, anyway, I learned a few things in the language, and I remember saying to myself, so I was there from like September to December. I got back just before Christmas in 2013, and I remember saying to myself, like, these languages are much more difficult than Spanish. Do you know, like things like Khmer and Swahili, and I've managed to learn enough to get by in a couple of months. And I sort of said that, like, after Christmas, I'm going to start learning Spanish and see how I get on. So my New Year's resolution in 2014 was to learn Spanish, as vague as that may be. Like, I'm still learning English, for God's sake. So I started with 30 minutes a day. I went with my friend and got a book out of the library, and that was nearly 6 years ago, and I haven't looked back since. And in those 6 years, I've spent the last 5.5 years, I've spent 3 living in Spain. I've done official Spanish exams. I've made lifelong friendships with Spanish speakers. I'm currently finishing off a degree in the language, and that sort of gave rise to my interest in languages. And I also study French and Irish. I suppose the rest is history. I did a CELTA qualification a few years back to teach English, and I've taught in several countries. And now I teach online, trying to show other people like me that you can learn a language, that your memory isn't horrible, you're not too old, and if you put your mind to it, you can do amazing things. So that's basically an introduction or a crash course into how I got interested in languages. And this podcast in general just sets out to answer some questions that I had at the start, and hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. You might find it interesting if you're on the same journey yourself. And in future podcasts, I'll be going over some related topics such as how to study, why learn a language, and what language to choose, and things like that. On my website, moyhu.com, it's moyhuu.com. There's also premium courses that I've worked very hard on and hopefully prove to be useful for some learners. And of course, if you want a personalized experience, you make sure you're learning as quickly and efficiently as possible, you can also contact me for private one-to-one classes on Skype. Just send me an email at moyhu@gmail.com, moyhuu@gmail.com, and you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook too. Also, if you want to get started in Spanish, there's a free 30-day, absolutely free 30-day course on my website that takes 5 minutes a day or so, and it'll give you your first 150 words in Spanish. You can listen to some Spanish conversation from native speakers and put into practice what you've learned. So that's all from me at the moment. If you've got this far, thanks very much for watching, and hope you have a great day, and I hope to see you in other podcasts. Venga pues, hasta luego y muchas gracias.